Alright, halo semuanya, balik lagi bersama gue Ardhan. Gue udah lama banget nggak nge-host ini ya. Jadi sekarang episode Skill Tree 115 dengan temanya Understanding the Dynamic of Indonesian Game Market. Jadi teman-teman kan tahu ya kalau misalkan either mobile is it not, it need an insight. Apalagi kalau lagi menaruh di pitch deck dan everything. Apalagi kalau kalian lagi do a mobile, how should it grow from here? Gimana kita bisa um, expand D0 kita di 7, D14 and everything. So how should we find those insight effectively? Itu basically yang kita mau push kita mau belajar di hari ini with my good friends. Let me introduce you to Kirill Vaganov, Business Development Manager for AppMagic. Hi Kirill, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
could you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience?
Sure. My name's Kirill. I've been doing business development here at AppMagic for the last 3 years,
Oh,
maybe even more.
nice.
And so, yeah, the best thing I got out of those 3 years of experience was, the ability, the opportunity to talk to a lot of developers in all kinds of countries, in all kinds of markets, and try to understand what is important to them when they do a market research. What are the
True.
main things they're looking for, and what indicators are they, kind of look for. And that, yeah, that's basically the best thing that, that I have is a lot of experience talking to a lot of developers and publishers and just different companies.
There's definitely a lot of insight on how to do things as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think without further ado, I think Kirill could do talk about it, and then after that we're gonna do a Q&A session. Um, I'll be talking bahasa a little bit. um, Teman-teman kalau ada yang punya pertanyaan, it's okay. It's not gonna be in English. I will try to translate in English so we can understand more, and then I'll translate it back to bahasa Indonesia so in the audience would see much better. Okay, without further ado, Kirill, the stage is yours.
All right. I will share my screen right now if I have a right to. I think, yeah, I can share my screen. And then I'll just show you how to effectively use AppMagic or actually
Yep.
any other platform that you have
Yep.
access to. It's just that I have access to AppMagic, so I'm going to demonstrate on AppMagic. But the whole idea behind this call, behind this conversation, is to highlight some of the techniques, some of the main ways to find the data and what data you should be searching and trying to find. Because, yeah, getting the data and using the data-driven approach is very important. Right.
Yep.
Will you translate, or how does that gonna?
Oh, I mean, you could go on the talk first, and
Mhm.
then I would let you translate a little bit more in the more of Q&A session. Basically,
Right.
they understand English, but
Mhm.
mostly they kind of shy to question it in English.
Right.
So basically, much more of the discussion in the Q&A. I would do
Got
pretty
it.
much like that.
Got it. No worries. Right. So first off, the most basic form of research, which is still a research and is still important, and it takes like no time to do, is just looking at the top charts. This is like the very first step you have to do. You have to make to understand the dynamics and the recent landscape of the market. So in our case, we're going to be looking at the Indonesian market. That's why we go to Indonesia, and here's kind of a very general top charts, top 3 and top grossing for Indonesian market. It includes both Google Play, App Store, games, and apps. It's just kind of to give you a little understanding of what are the biggest apps and games on the market. Because obviously, you have to understand what are people into on
Yeah,
this
definitely. Yeah.
to be more effective, right? But then obviously, let's say you're making a game. So looking at TikTok and Google One and video does not make a lot of sense. That's why you can either go and use the tagging system, because we manually categorize all the games and apps in our system. So you can simply click games, and now the whole top charts will kind of change, and you will only see games on the top chart, which is way better because now you have to look at TikTok and other non-gaming apps, which does not make sense to you. You simply look at games, which is more effective. And again, it tells you, even spending like 20 minutes here, 10 minutes, 5 minutes here, you can see the similarities, the patterns, like what kind of games are people into, what kind of genres do they enjoy the most or something. So yeah, this is kind of the first step to any analysis. Just go to top charts, go to the country you're looking for, and just analyze the market, like who's at the top, who's at the bottom. And also we have this little green arrows here, which show you the movement. So this game, Free Fire, yesterday it was number 2, but now today it was 1 place higher than the previous day. So that's why you see number 1. Number 1, yeah. But then what you can also do is not to look at the daily numbers. You can also go and check out the whole 2023, for example. So what happened in 2023, the whole year of 2023? What was the biggest game in terms of downloads? What was the biggest game in terms of revenue? Oh, it's the same game. Nice. What was the second biggest game in terms of downloads or revenue? So yeah, it's all here. And again, you can see that, for example, 8-Ball Pool was 24 positions lower the year before that. So in 2022, they were in 26th place. But then in 2023, they went up 24 places and got up to the 2nd place. So obviously the guys did something right, because going up 24 places is a lot of places. And yeah, this is just good to know that someone is going up, and obviously you want to analyze those guys that are going up. So yeah, you can start right here. And then if you don't like the UI, for example, or you just want to export all of this data and then do some graphs or charts on your own, you can always export the data into a CSV file and just use it like in a raw form, just raw data, and then use that for whatever purposes you might have.
Right.
Yeah. So this is good. Another thing you can do here, again, not going anywhere, but just staying here, is if you made up your mind about kind of game you're making, you can go and analyze a specific genre, even more specific. So right now we're just looking at games, but if say you're going to make a soccer game or football game, whatever you call it, you just go to soccer, and now you'll only be looking at soccer games. So
Nice.
Yeah, that's very good, because again, if you're making a specific game, just go here, you click games and then soccer, and then you see what are the biggest soccer games and what games are being downloaded the most in this market, which is good. And then kind of wrapping up here, what you can also do is you can just select up to 100 different projects, different games in here, different soccer games. I'm just gonna select, let's say, 11 of those, and then I click app comparison. And what we do is we kind of drag them all to a single dashboard, and we compare their performance in Indonesia in 9 years. Obviously, 9 years is not something you have to look at. But look at like
5 years
or 5 years or 2 years. Yeah. Just understand what's happening. And just gonna go back a little bit, and we see there was like a huge peak in December 2022. I guess that was the World Cup or something. But then yeah, you can see how the games are fluctuating, who's getting more downloads, who's getting less downloads. So it's pretty kind of important to analyze this data, just to see who's going up, who's going down, and who you will be up against with, hypothetically, if you were to make a soccer game like next week or something. And then yeah, you can, apart from just looking at downloads, which is the most basic form of analysis, you can also look at revenue, for example, to see who's making more money on the market, like eFootball or something. But then also, even more important, you can understand a more product side of the whole analysis. So you can go and analyze their retention, for example, to see who is the best game at kind of engaging the players or something. So, and you can go to the table below and just sort everything by the day one retention to find out that the best game in terms of day one retention is EA Sports. They have 3% day one retention. Or also you can add theory retention, because that is another important metric. So you add it,
the MAU one.
Everything, and yeah, the highest is still EA Sports. So they do something very well in terms of like engaging the players, because they stick around. Those people stick around. So yeah. And then yeah, on the contrary, Total Football is way less, I'd say, engaging.
Well, less,
yeah, just 2% is like half of what EA Sports has. So the next step is you actually step out of AppMagic, right? So let's say you're making a soccer game. So So you step out of it, you analyze this data, you compare it with 11 games, and you step out, you turn off your PC, you take your phone, laptop, or tablet or iPad or something,
Tablet. Yep.
download these games, you play them, and you try to answer the question, what
Mm.
makes these guys so bad? Well, relatively bad in terms of
Yep.
engagement.
Compares to, yeah.
Yeah, and what can I do to have a day 30 retention of 4%?
What's the winning strategy too? Yeah. I
Yeah,
understand.
because at the end of the day, it's not all about just looking at numbers and trying to understand who is the biggest and who is the best. It's always about, trying to understand why this happened, why
Mm.
they have such a high retention, or why they have so many downloads or so much revenue. Obviously, a lot of it has to do that with the fact that EA Sports is published by Electronic
Yep.
Arts, like billions and billions of dollars. So obviously they can make a good game. But then a game like this, for example, by Mobile Soccer, I've never heard of those guys, right? Not the company, not the game, but they have a pretty good retention. Day 30,
Mm.
day 1. So, it's not always about the money, which in this case, sometimes it's about the talent, which. So, yeah, just go and play those games to actually understand what makes a good game or a good app, obviously, because you can make an app too. Right. So
After a
this.
while, that's gonna be like a pattern, right? In those games, what try to
Yeah.
return.
At first you're just playing the games and you're trying to compare them, and you're like, all right, they are very same. I don't see any differences. But then the more you play, the more you like notice stuff. Like,
Mm.
all right, these guys they have a daily login bonus, for example, which is
Yep.
cliche, but still a lot of people do that. And all
Yep.
right, these guys they have a leaderboard and they have the tournament and they have the competitive side of social element. Like, all right, they have just more kind of a versatility when it comes to like gameplay and stuff. So, all right,
Mm.
this is what brings them success that they have.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is important. Right. So this was an example of very basic research when you know specific market or specific genre that you want to analyze, and even then, it's
Yep.
not yet complete. We just looked at a couple of games, but it's a good starting point. If you don't have enough time, you don't have enough desire to spend a lot of time on analyzing and working with numbers, this is the minimum you can do. Just go
Yeah.
here, just analyze something, see who's going up, see who's going down, see who has a better retention, and that's it. Now you know your competitors, now you know
Yeah.
your surroundings, so that's a good start at least. But then kind of scaling back a little bit, let's say we just picked soccer randomly, right? We have no
Right.
idea what is the biggest genre in Indonesia. What are
Mm.
people actually playing or using if you're using non-gaming apps? And to
Right.
answer this question, we're actually going to scale back a little bit and look at the market as a whole. So what we do is we go to market segment comparison, which allows you to not just go to a single genre or a single market, but to actually compare all of them. So we can go games,
Mm.
casual, and then just add all the different subgenres of casual gaming, like puzzle, casino, kids games, adventure games, and stuff. And next up, we'll go to Indonesia, since this is the market we're analyzing right now. You go to Indonesia, and you go to say the last 2 years or something, just to see kind of what's happening right now. And you go to percentage. And so in terms of revenue, right, we're looking at revenue right now. The biggest market is the puzzle market, with like 33% of all the gaming genres revenue,
Right.
which is not. Then you have casino games. You're like, all right. Then you have simulator, and then here, exactly what we just noticed. That say July 2023,
Uh,
sports games they had 3% of the market share, which is not a lot. But then fast forward to today, and it's 8%. So they jump up to 8% in just a matter of like what 7 months, 8 months.
7 months.
So it's a good sign. The market is evolving. The market is growing. Sports games just look better than any other market, I guess.
Mm.
Especially if you could look at casino games. So casino games, they were doing good up until May 2023, and then in May 2023, something happened. I have no idea what happened, but the market just plummeted from $4 million to the current $1.3 million. So you do not want to make casino games apparently, but maybe, and that's another possibility here. If you switch to downloads and you do that, you switch to downloads, and you find out that let's just look at casino games. So we look at casino games, and so what you see is that nothing actually happened in terms of downloads. People are still playing those games, they're still downloading them. So it's not that people stopped playing casino games or they were banned or something? My answer is a lot of the casino games, they just opted for off-platform payments or web payments, or maybe even, well, not ad revenue, but still like off-platform, think like solo or something, or web payments. So
Yeah.
we cannot process those, so we do not see the revenue that comes from a solo or something, and that might be a wise decision, because if you feel like you want to get more money or something, you just go to those guys and you pay them less commission, like lower commission, 5% or something. And yeah, that's just the easy way to just transition from the 30% commission you pay to Apple and Google to the lower commission. And I heard that apart from playing from paying lower commission on the user side, like for me, I'm playing casino games in Indonesia using those off-platform payment systems like Xolo or something else. They just they offer more payment options, which might be interesting for like local market. So that's what must have happened. I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah.
working for Xolo, so this is just the only company I know.
And also,
Yeah. Did you have a question?
oh no, I mean, sure. There is some question, but like I'll let you first present
All
it a
right.
bit.
All right. So yeah, the point of going here at this level of analysis is to first answer the question: what are
Mm,
people actually playing or using? So we see, like, in terms of revenue, they're mostly playing casino games and puzzle games and
yeah.
sports games. But in terms of downloads, it's games for kids and simulator games and puzzle
Yep.
games and arcade games. So making a game or a project in one of these genres is obviously better than making an AR game, for example, in Indonesia, which only had
Mm,
21 downloads in the last 2 years. That's not a lot. Maybe I should be making like an AR game in Indonesia, or a game collection, whatever that is. So yeah,
yeah.
it's not an option.
So it's good.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to as an initial research, I would say. So let's say I just want to make a mobile game and I want to see what's working in Indonesia, something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah.
And see even like is my game is have a, let's say you do have your own internal data that D1
Mhm.
retention, D7 retention, and you try to compare based on your playing field, what is the exact good, because a good retention is based on the genre of the game itself,
Right.
right?
Right.
sometimes
Right. Yeah.
sometimes you know, casual game or hyper casual, you play it and then you bored for like one day and then you know, you just
Yeah.
delete it, you know, something like that compares to more of like a mobile legend and something like that. So I think
Yeah.
I'm agree that it's good for initial research, but like the second thing is after you got those numbers,
Hmm.
um as you've been experienced with talking a lot of like developer itself,
Hmm.
what do you think that they do wrong or like not as efficient as it should? Because data
Hmm.
could data could really um talk a lot of things, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's 900,000 or like $1 million, but what the story behind the data? It's just like um it's a lot to unpack. And what
Yeah.
do you think that it's a wrong approach for like newcomers to to kind of like try to translate those data into the stories in some way?
That is a brilliant question. Because yeah, obviously, if you look at revenue, for example, you would assume that, all right, puzzle games at the top of the list,
Yeah.
$1.9 million. I want to be a part of that. I want a piece of that. I'm gonna go and make puzzle game.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is the biggest genre out there. Yeah, I'm making one. All right, this shouldn't be too
Mhm.
hard, right? They make a lot of money, and I know this market. I just saw the biggest puzzle games. So yeah, easy. I'm gonna make a lot of money. I'm gonna make a puzzle game, and that's kind of the wrong assumption you can make, just because it doesn't stop here. The whole research doesn't stop here. You can't
Mm.
just look at data, at numbers, and like, all right, this is a good market. Because next up, what you have to do, in my opinion, is you have to analyze and understand how competitive the market is. Obviously, you can just go and look at, again, you can just go and look at the top chart, right? You can just go to Indonesia and then puzzle games and just see what are the biggest puzzle games and how you're gonna compete against them. Like Candy Crush, all right, this is huge. Royal Match, all right, this is huge. Gardenscapes, Homescape, Fishdom, Matchmasters. These guys are making millions. And like, all right, what do I do? How do I actually compete with those guys? But let's say you're like, all right, I know I have the skills, I have the experience. I'm gonna make an even better version of Candy Crush. So next, to kind of wake up a little bit, to serve as a wake up call, you can go and just see. You go to advanced search, not necessarily it's called advanced search, but basically the point is to understand how competitive the market is in terms of new titles coming out. So you go
Right.
to 2023, for example. I just chose 2023, and then you go puzzle games, right? And then you go to Indonesia, like we just mentioned. And so basically, it's a full list of all the puzzle games that came out in Indonesia in 2023. And you scroll down, and there were 5,626 games that came out in Indonesia in 2023 in the puzzle category. Obviously, we could go to hyper casual or casual. I just combined those.
Yeah.
Let's go for casual, for example. It's going to be a bit easier for
A bit easier, definitely.
just casual games. Still 4,000 something
Still.
games, right? And then out of those, you go, all right, how many are actually successful? This one's good, this one's good, this one's good, this one's good. So everything, let's say everything above $1,000 is going to be good for us for the purposes of this research. And then obviously a lot of those guys, they monetize through ads or through off-platform payments.
True.
So downloads, we're also going to take downloads into consideration. All right, it's going to be this, everything above 100,000 downloads. So we have 27 games out of what was that, 4,000?
4,000-ish.
Yeah, let me do math real quick. Like this, right?
Right.
So yeah, and then I multiply by 100. So this is the success rate of the casual puzzle games in Indonesia in 2023.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%. So that's a great wake up call, because you're like, oh, wait, it's a huge market, right? But then since it's a huge market and I'm not the only one with the eyes, a lot of people think the same, but they failed to do the next step, to analyze how competitive the market is. So they're like, oh my God, it's like 1%, even less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
And so it's not a good chance. It's not a good chance. I wouldn't bet against like a 1% chance. So how do you proceed? What do you do? Because this is pressing, right? You're like, all right, I'm never gonna do mobile.
Saturated, yeah.
Yeah. But what you can do is you can go back again to market segment comparison and just try to find. Actually, we have a tool. It's not even out yet, but I'm gonna. Oh yeah, it's not here. Try to find it, because this is exactly what I was. God. All right. So yeah, basically what you have to find here, if you are making a new game or trying to come up with a new game, your job is to find the market with a relatively high success rate. And again, you go to game, you go to casual, for example, and puzzle gaming. They have different variations of puzzles. They're gonna add all of them here, right? And again, we're gonna go to Indonesia, and that's it. And Indonesia and revenue, and then the last 2 years again. So we're trying to kind of go into the whole puzzle gaming and find. Let's hide the match 3 because it's obviously huge. But then you find something like this, merge games. All right, merge games have been going up. That's a good sign. All right, let's just stick with this, merge games. And then another one, it's called puzzle other line. This is not interesting. All right, let's go with merge games, right? So merge games look awesome. And we go back to the advanced search, but instead of just looking at all the puzzle games, we're going to go specifically for merge games. And then you're only left with only 500 games.
500.
This is good. And then out of those, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. And in terms of revenue, you have 1, 2, 3. So it's 8. 8 out of, what is it? 462. Let me do math. 8 out of 4, 3, and then multiplied by 100.
Much higher.
That's 1.7%. So this is better, right? Better than 0.75, 65. Obviously, it's I'm just showing an example here. A lot of these games are way harder to make than just any puzzle game. For example, making this kind of game requires a team, right? Because an art style, play and everything, story, right? But then you also have something like this, 2048.
Yeah.
People still play those, and it's a new game. Like what? But yeah, it's not hard to make, and it still makes money, still makes downloads. So I mean, it's not too bad. And this one's only in Indonesia. Look at this, Indonesia and a little bit of Singapore, just a sprinkle of Singapore. So yeah, this is like awesome. And basically, this is what you're trying to get is you break down the market like a puzzle game. Obviously, there are different subgenres to puzzle gaming. So your job is to find the little subgenres, little niches that are growing, that have more and more
Right.
revenue, but are still not yet discovered by your competitors. Because
Yep.
to puzzle games, they make puzzle games, but then specifically merge games are not as popular among the developers, but they're still very popular among the players. So yeah, and the thing I wanted to show you actually called the success meter or meter. Let me actually, I'm going to do a little research in the background because it kind of cuts everything, all this process into a single tool. Let's just
Nice.
and imagine how it looks. So you go to this tool and you say, I want to make a puzzle game, any puzzle game. Just give me all the puzzle subgenres out there. And it just gives you a list of all the subgenres of puzzle gaming, and it tells you how many games came out in the last year or 2 years, how much money they made, how much downloads they had, and what is the success rate on this market. Because you can actually set the success bar for you. So let's say you make a hyper casual games. So for you, the downloads is the main metric. This is what you're gonna go in for, like as many downloads as possible. But if you make like a casual game, for you it's gonna be a couple of $1,000s, like $10,000, $20,000. So you say every game that makes over $20,000 is a successful game for me. And so we're gonna show you like there were 100 games came out in this genre in the last year, and 4 of them are making $20,000 per month or up. So the success rate is 4%. And it's gonna just compresses these 2 steps into a single tool. I can't find the link to it, but I will share it with you after the call. I'll find it, and it just saves a lot of time and effort.
Definitely.
Just go there and find the markets with the highest success rate, which is awesome.
Awesome. So as you said before, basically what some developer did wrong is just see the data as is in some way. So like just surface area data that it's 153k of revenue, and then you don't see the cross section on those data and see what exactly it made. Even like when it does have a higher revenue, how's the production budget is gonna be, the ROI. It makes sense to do an ROI, basically maybe 10k a month with the lower budget is much more profitable rather than 170k but with 100k marketing and budget in some way.
That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely like that. So could understand, but let's do one of the Q&A. I think it's interesting when we talk about how developer would see the data. I think Calvin here said that developing games takes time. When we release the game, the trend might already change. It's supposed to be like, because dead on arrival thing. Could you suggest the best approach to determine the best type of genre that it should make? Maybe like how to not being caught up to current trend. So maybe games take a year, a month, or 6 months to develop, and then when it's done, when it released to the public, it doesn't have a trend anymore, and its trends already passed. Do you have any suggestion how to best approach to see the data itself, to see into like 6 months into the future, see how we should kind of translate all the especially here, this like current data, right? How from this, how can we not predict, but like how we anticipate the future trend for our game? Basically, does does my timing is right? Does my
Mhm.
timing release is right or something like that?
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one, to be honest with you,
Oh,
because
definitely.
obviously no one has like a crystal ball to look into and see the future.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, the best advice here would be try to find the trends that are emerging as soon as possible, not to be late to the party, because making a Survivor IO clone right now will not be helpful. It's been like
Yeah.
2 years. Come on, it's too late now. But then
Yep.
making a Survivor.io game back in 2022 would be a good idea, because you would cash out, you'd make money,
Mm.
and if it's not hard to make, if you have like the bases and you have a good team, then trying to chase all the trends might not be such a bad idea, especially if your team is flexible and you are ready to pivot. Because let's say you make a puzzle game, right? And obviously the trends are changing all the time, because
Oh,
4 years
definitely.
ago match 3 games were still popular and are still popular, but they had different mini games in them. They advertised differently compared to today. So obviously, if you make a game and you are in a long haul for this, then just try to be as flexible as possible. And that's another advice, another thing I wanted to mention, that even when you are done making game and it's released and it's published and it's all good and you're making money, you can't just stop looking at data and market, because again, new trends pop up every time. And even though your game was already out and you cannot just pull back and re-release it, you can include some of those new trends into your game. The best example is merge games. They were not the whole mechanic of merging stuff was not as popular like 4 years ago, 2 years
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
But then once it started to go big, a lot of the publishers, a lot of games, they just included this little mini game of merging stuff within their
Yeah.
game, which are
Yeah.
not even merged games. So you would see someone like Idle, what is it, Golden Goblins game, the game.
Golden Goblins. Yep.
At first, it was not about merging stuff. It was just a usual Idle Tycoon game, just your typical Idle
Ah.
Tycoon game. But then they were like, we should include that as a mini game. It's like a gimmick, which is gonna have emerging goblin stuff. They did that. It worked out, and they were like, maybe we should keep
Yeah.
it. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll go back. We're gonna keep
So it's
this little.
cross pollinate with the new trends. So you could get like people who like merge game introduced to your games in a way that it's become a new introductory space that, oh yeah, maybe it's work, maybe it's not work, maybe I think basically what I think it's that it's more kind of like, how would you not like see the data as final, but it's more kind of like more kind of like, how can we use this data to much more confidence to do more in the game itself. Let's say you have a
Uh-huh.
game and then the trend is like merge game, and then you got, how can we capture in a way before the trends disappear with a mini game updates
Mhm.
here and there, see if it's work or not. If it's work, should we make a full-fledged game based on that? I think that's kind of it. So quickly develop quickly, flexible to the trend. I think it's much more for the mobile market, definitely,
Yeah,
because console PC is much more longer in development
that
in
that's for
some
sure.
way.
Yeah. But then also don't forget that you always have something called the marketing task. So you can just make a couple of creatives, with the new merge mechanic or something new mechanic. Just
Ah,
put it out, see what the results are. If the
yep.
results are good, then maybe you can expand and try invest more money. And if you see the results are really good and a lot of people are flocking into your game as a result of this new advertising campaign, then include that into your game, or make it a constant thing, not just like a seasonal gimmick feature or something. So
Mm,
you don't have to just look at the data here and make conclusions, because you can
mm,
always test the data. So making an advertisement is not that expensive. It doesn't even require a team at first, so you don't have to develop anything. Just make a couple of creatives, go and check them out, and test them out. If the CPIs are good and CTRs are good and everything is good, then try to kind of iterate. So make a first version of a game, try with that, and then always do iterate at every step. Do not try to ship the whole product at once. Just, we're going to work on that thing for 2 years straight without lifting our head. We're just going to do that for 2 years, and in 2 years after that, we'll realize that no one plays the Huggy Wuggy games anymore. That's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
that's really sad.
Yeah. I want to talk about more into outside the product itself. The mobile itself is really brutal when it comes to like feasibility, right? Like
Yeah.
thousand of apps released each day, right?
Mhm.
So other than the game itself, what do you think? You talk with a lot of like developer publishers and something like
Yeah.
that. How would you do? You have any insight on the A/B testing, the component other than the game itself? Let's say the title, the description, basically the SEO or something like that. Also, kind of maybe contribute to the download or something like that. What do you think that's A/B testing on
Mhm.
other component than the product itself?
Look, getting new players is becoming more and more like hard, right, and
Yeah.
difficult,
Yeah.
challenging. You have the ATT, you have everything. After that, now the Android is going to introduce the sandbox, so it's a kind of a shit show if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the companies, like existing companies with existing titles and products, they are opting to not just get new users, but to keep existing users and players more engaged, and they do that through live ops, through new content, battle passes, and everything. And that's why you
mm,
see all the games like at the top of the list. Think Royal Match, think Candy Crush. They always introduce new stuff so that they keep their players engaged. They're not trying to get more players or new players because they know it's difficult to do. They just try to work with what they have, so to speak, like
I
with the
see.
players they have. But then obviously A/B testing everything beyond the game itself makes sense, and it does work, and it does help you get the results that you're looking for. So yeah, always try to A/B test everything, like the new icon, the new description, the new screenshots, the ASO keywords and everything, because even though like it will not be as effective as the straight up
Mm,
advertisement with billions of dollars, but it's still something, and it can make a whole difference. This little something that can make a whole difference.
yeah, yeah. I think that's true itself because sometimes when you already create a good product without good visibility, it doesn't translate well.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway.
that's for sure.
Yeah, there is another question specifically for AppMagic. So,
Hmm.
Mas Adip say that what is the current pricing structure of AppMagic subscription?
Right.
Additionally, are there any discounts available specifically for indie game developer based in Indonesia or like Southeast Asia in general?
Yeah. So the pricing, I'm not going to show you the pricing. I'll just show you how it looks. But then definitely, it's something that you call modular system, because you go
Ah,
here and you either choose the stuff you want to choose, or like I'm an indie, I want to have access to the indie level of the data, or I do
ah,
publishing. That'd be a
I
different thing.
see.
Or you can just set up everything on your own, and the price starts at 100, 150 or a month, and we do offer discounts for indie companies based in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. So let me put it this way: the pricing should not be an issue, because first of all, what
Definitely.
we're trying to do and we're trying to achieve is to become a by default solution in like everywhere, in every corner of the world. So we want to be like a household name. I know it's too grandiose in something, but if you're like an indie company or just a mobile company, developer, publisher, whatever, we want you to, when you think about market analysis, you think maybe I should go and check AppMagic. So that's going to be the first thought in
Yeah,
your
the
head.
go-to platform, right?
Yeah, the go-to platform. So yeah, the pricing should not be a problem. We have a flexible pricing, and yeah, just don't hesitate to click this button right here, request demo, and we'll get in touch with you.
I
A
see.
second of self-promotion, yeah.
I mean, it's the question. I could. It is the
Yeah.
question, right? So yeah, I think one of the interesting that about the app magic is like the similarity graph. You
Right.
haven't touched on that, and like the advancers. I think that's. I mean, it's not like a promotion. It's just like things that we talked
Yeah.
before this session, and I'm really interested in like how I'm really interested in how the things gonna work about the similar, especially the similarity graph, because for the initial um, research, I think
Right.
to see the graph of what games on what, I think is interesting before we dive deep into the whole kind of like data download revenue and everything. Would you explain a little bit more on that?
Sure. So similarity graph is probably the best described by helping you to understand the audience a bit better. So how it works in practice is you go and you select any game. Let's go for merge something. Oh, merge adventure travel town. So it's going to give you a list of all the games that are similar to travel town, but not in terms of gameplay or the art style or the setting
Mm.
or anything, but more so in terms of the audience playing merge travel town in this case.
Ah,
So
I see.
is you go to, for example, App Store for this game, Travel Town. Let's say I'm
Right.
gonna download this game, right? So I'll scroll down, and Apple tells me, "Hey, buddy, you might also like these games." How they do that
Ah, I
based on
see.
what you have installed or other players of Travel Town have installed or had installed on their phones. So they think like people playing Travel Town also play these games, so you should try them. So what we do is we go here, and not to break this whole beautiful model, we just take the first 15 games from here, and we do the same stuff for them. So we go to their recommendation system, and we take these games. So we do that 4 times in a row, and you end up with this beautiful network of up to 400 different games on a single list, on a single graph,
Oh, I see.
and it just helps you
Understand.
understand your audience better. So this is the best example I've ever found. Travel Town, you have kind of two parts, right? Two sections, two halves, so to say. The one half is people playing merge games, so they are really into the whole merge gameplay, merging.
Yeah.
So it's just a bunch of different merge games, right? But then you
Right.
also have a different half of people, and they are just playing casual stuff like
Ah, I
farming game,
see.
and all the stuff. So it's not just the merging game, and that kind of empowers you to like, all right, why am I stuck with these players, right? I only try to appeal to these guys playing merge games, when in reality, I can go and try to snatch some of these audience because
Ah, yeah, yep,
people
yep.
playing farm games, for some reason, they also find Travel Town attractive. I mean, they play Travel Town and they play farming games.
Mm.
So how about I just go and add a farming advertisement to my
Farming
game,
mini games or farming, yeah, yeah,
or
farming
or
application.
maybe talk about ASO. I'm gonna use the farming keywords so that people
Oh, yeah.
farming will find my game and they will play that. So it helps a lot with just the audience deconstruction, I'd say,
Yeah.
writing what your players are also into. And then last but not least, you can also find games that are similar to yours, but you've never heard of them. Like this one, Lucy's Ville. The game has 0 downloads, $500 in the last like 2 years, and so you wouldn't be able to find it manually just because it's so small. But
Yeah.
then it popped up here, so you might as well just go and see what kind of game that is. And maybe, I don't know why, but maybe you were interested in that.
Yeah, I think this is a great thing for this. It's like you could see like your playing field in a way, like
Yeah,
what's working in your space of work, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
and the features. When we talk about back then, the A/B test outside the product, you see maybe we could snatch a little bit of like the logo, the app logo to be become similar in some way.
Yeah,
I think that's also a great insight there. So interesting.
that's for sure.
uh
Yeah, just be careful with that because those big companies, they're going crazy when someone's using their property, like their ad creatives or their icon, their screenshots, they go crazy. They will stop. They will never stop. They'll chase you down everywhere you hide. They'll have the whole team of lawyers. So just be
Lawyers.
careful. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it is a great. Is it a great? I thought it's not.
Because you have this
Um.
thing with ad intelligence, and you can find who is doing what in terms of advertisement, like what creatives they're using. And I had a
Oh.
complaints from big companies, big hyper casual companies. That's a little secret, because they
Mm.
found small games that just straight up are using their creatives. They just record the ad, and then you just cut down the last 5 seconds with the logo of the game, and they use that as their own ad. And obviously, those big companies, they're not happy, so they try to find all the copycats, and then they sue them and whatnot. So yeah, it's a scary stuff.
Yeah, I think when we talk about ads, I think that's interesting because sometimes it's become so similar that you don't know what game it is.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
do
for sure.
you have any? Do you have any like I would say insight, but yeah, some like a rule of thumb how to better like um because we know that it's much like short term what it called short term attention in like
Yeah.
mobile compares to like let's say game trailer for indies in the console the Steam. So how is there any rule of thumb to have a better ads in mobile, maybe like how to better highlight, should we more highlight of the game or it's more kind of like highlight what works in the market, and then you know
Yeah.
let's let's just focus uh let's just focus the ads so that it would funneling into our store page, then we explain the game in app store, or it's more kind of like how should we balance all of those in a way.
I mean, that's again, it's a good question. I think the best way to approach this whole issue is to just go what are the biggest guys on the market are doing, because obviously
Ah, I
if
see.
they're doing something right, why shouldn't you be doing the same thing? So you go, for example,
Mm.
I just click here, games, casual, puzzle, merge games, because we're talking about merge games, to
Yeah,
find out what are the best kind of performing ads in this market, right?
and you could
And
see the ad itself, right?
yeah, yeah, well, you can watch the ads.
Yeah,
And obviously, like the huge portion of this is just this game, the Suka game, I think it's called.
Suika game, yeah.
And then apart from that, you get all of these save the baby, or let them not starve to death or freeze to death or something. And it's the majority. So you have Suka games, and then you have the crying babies and freezing girls and whatever. And like, all right, and you don't see any gameplay, like actual gameplay. You don't see anything. It's just two types of ads right now. And so you should start with that. Just try to come
Yeah.
up with something new. And that's another good advice, is to always put out new stuff. You cannot have like two creatives that work. You always have constantly put out new ads, because
I see.
people get tired of the same ad very quickly, especially in this day and age. So just go
So
and
it
try out.
doesn't always be about gameplay. Is you could experiment with always experiment with new ads, see if it work or not, see how's the
Yeah,
big guys doing, right?
yeah, experiment with everything. And then, not the most popular advice, but if you are working with like a big company, say AppLovin, Unity, or even Facebook, Integral,
Mm,
just talk to your account managers, because they are sometimes they're financially interested in your success. So they would
yeah.
give you advice. They sometimes give you the best conditions, the best terms. So don't hesitate to talk to those guys. Is their job basically to help you. So yeah, don't hesitate to do that.
Interesting in this is just like the ads is not only portrait, but sometimes it's landscape as well.
Yeah.
Like
Uh, yeah, I mean, what I'm looking at right now, I don't see any gameplay in any of these ads, to be
yeah,
honest. It's always
yeah,
this or this, which is not a gameplay. And yeah, I don't know. I think again, it's always changing. That's why you have
yeah.
to go through what's going on, because a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, people were more into a different kind of stuff, and now they're
Yeah.
into this. So yeah, and it's always
If you
changing.
don't keep up, it's you already left the race. I guess.
Yeah, you will be struggling if you are, yeah, not keeping up.
Is it different for each like platform, or like let's say something works on tablet doesn't really translate and work on like um, phone or something like that, or is it basically similar?
I'd say it's the same stuff. It's just most of the
Nice.
ads are vertical, and the format is this, and yeah, less ads are like fewer ads are horizontal, and it's usually the big hitters, the heavy hitters, like the merge mentioned with this cinematic thing. Obviously, it works on
Yeah.
mobile, on tablet, and everywhere. On YouTube, you can watch it on PC, and it still looks good. It still looks interesting. But that,
Right.
yeah,
I understand. Yeah. So to recap all the talk that
yeah,
or discussion that we had, I think one point that needs to be what I call um, what word I'm looking for. Basically, what people or like developer needs to see is not only like on surface data, but
yeah,
like much of like see what exactly your playing field are.
yeah,
Let's say on like the ad intelligence, maybe something that work out on merge game doesn't really work out on MOBA. When you were talking about MOBA, it's maybe different approach on like how the ads gonna be, or like the revenue, or even like the similarity graph, something like that.
yeah,
Do you have anything to add to, because we do have like 8 minutes left? Do you have
yeah.
any like
I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, all
closing
right,
statements to closing statement to our talk today, and see and how the data, especially data matters in a way, but like how could we use those data effectively throughout our development, even like post development, the live surface and things like that.
I'd say the biggest advice that applies to everything I show is always ask questions. Like,
Mm.
never stop asking questions, because if you were to stop here, you just look at Indonesia and like, all right, I see soccer games. Good, I'm gonna make a soccer games. But if you ask a question, but how big the market is actually is, if I compare it to other gaming markets, right? This is the next question, and you go and you find out that the soccer games are not the biggest sports games, so maybe you should make it a basketball kind of game, and then you can
Right.
stop. You can stop there, and and go to a market with 0.4 success rate. So then you ask yourself, how competitive is this market? So you do that,
Ah.
and you find out, all right, this is very competitive, but I'm gonna do a good game. So then like, but how do I make a good game? What makes a good game? So then you go and actually play those games, and like, all right, now I have an understanding. And you're making a game, and you're like, wait, what are the recent trends? Am I missing something? And you go and analyze, and then at the
Mm.
very end of your journey, you're like, all right, how do I advertise this? And you go and you analyze.
Ah.
So it's always about asking questions. Not, you never go look at data and go make something. You have to make you know you have to be very cautious and very careful, and always ask questions to yourself.
So answering question with another question in a way.
Yeah, that's the best possible thing. And then let's say you're done, right? You published a game, and it's making good money and everything,
Mm.
so you can stop there, or you can ask another question: how do I make more money? How do I get more players? What do I do next? And so there's so many questions, and every
What's the
of
next content's
and
gonna be, something like
another,
that.
yeah, to another research, to another project or something. So
Yeah,
this is, yeah,
definitely. Also, not only Indonesia, maybe how to market your games in India or something like that, or market
yeah,
your games in specific region, like games is borderless in some way, right? So
yeah,
sometimes when you succeed in Indonesia, and what next,
right,
how to expand the market, what ads work in Australia, let's say, or something like that, what's work in America or something.
yeah.
So local approach would be great to do that as well, is it?
That's actually, yeah. You never, I mean, not never, but if you have a successful game, like let's say you only made it available in Indonesia, and you see that it's very popular, then maybe you should ship it to other countries, like make it available in Singapore, and then Asia, and then the United States, and then Europe. It will get you more money. Obviously, the competition is high, but then hey,
Hi.
you already have a successful project, so why not try?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like what I call summarize our talk today. Basically, I will asking the right question,
Mhm.
answering the question within a question. Like I think if you are developer, maybe a lot of my friends, even like in Indonesia, they apps kind of like more popular in Japan or more
Mhm.
popular in other regions. So open up yourself, to other region as well. I think that's with tools like AppMagic, you can see what's working on what region. I think that's a kind of um, go to basically always asking question is like the best the best summarized the best summarized for all talk.
Yeah, it's ultimate.
Yeah.
It's the best way. Always ask questions, and then it's gonna help you.
All right. I think that's would close. Thank you so much, Kirill, for this session. Any question for the audience at first, or should we wrap it up? Let me check on the things. Okay, I think because it's 4 minutes left. I think thank you so much, Kirill, for this awesome talk. I think it's interesting to see because a lot of my friends see the data as is, like, oh, this is 100K revenue, and then what, right? Like, what's gonna happen? Sometimes other game success doesn't translate to your success in a way, right? It's more kind of
Right.
like how can we predict the market, as you see, how to uh, question more about the game to see the strategies pivot into much more viable, because maybe not every game is the same some way,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So um and maybe if people want to know more about App Magic, would you be able to how people would how should people contact, should we contact you or should they contact?
Yeah, I mean,
Any
we have
question?
a support chat on the website. You can start with
Right.
that, like saying, "Hey, I came from this call, this thing. I'm interested in App Magic, and we'll help you understand more and learn more."
All right, so
A
basically
good, yeah, starting point.
explore the website of App Magic,
I
and
mean, they can also just email me if you guys have my email. You can just email me.
yeah, I think Dina, could you help me if it's okay to share? Dina is the
Yeah,
operator of this.
that would
Okay,
be
I think we would share it. I think we will share it is end live of in the private chat. Okay, thank you everyone.
all right.
Thank you everyone for the session today, and hopefully this discussion would opening up your insight basically to how to really do a much more market fit on your product in a way. Thank you, Kirill, for helping me for the discussion. Hopefully, everyone will try App Magic at some point.
Hopefully, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Uh, Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.